What is up, all you new and aspiring creators? My name is Alanhm2000, and today I am going to teach you how to use GIMP to make your YouTube thumbnails. So, for those of you who don't know what GIMP is a free open source image editing software. Basically, what that means is it is the free version of Photoshop. So it's super easy to use when you first get it. It might seem a little confusing at first, but most of the tools are pretty simple and don't require that much practice to get used to. So to start off, we're going to want to open your browser up, and if you don't use Google Chrome, then you're dead to me. But you're going to go up, type in GIMP, and in Google, you're going to go to gimp.org, and you're going to be presented with the front page where you can read up on all the cool stuff you can do with GIMP in terms of graphic design and other image editing stuff. And keep in mind, GIMP does work on all three operating systems, so it works on Windows, Mac, and Linux. This tutorial is going to be a Windows tutorial, so basically you're going to go to the download page, and you are going to click on download GIMP directly, and go through the normal Windows or Mac or Linux install process. So once GIMP is finished installing, it will automatically run once you're finished with the setup wizard, and it might take a long time to load up at first just because it's got to load in all the fonts, all the layers, all the tools, all that kind of stuff. And so it'll take a little while on the first launch, and it might take a little while on a couple of the other ones. As you can see here, it takes a while on mine just because I have custom fonts installed that it has for some reason it takes GIMP a while to register that I have custom fonts in there, so that's why it's taking me such a long time to install it. Alright, so once GIMP is loaded up, you're going to be presented with these windows right here, and now, like I said, this might look very confusing with the toolbox up there and all of the settings for the toolbox. You got your layers over on the right and a bunch of fancy stuff, but I promise you it is not as complicated as it looks. So it takes a little bit of getting used to and watching a tutorial like this one to get to know the basics. And once you can get to know the basics of GIMP, you can start to play with the more advanced aspects of the program, because this thing can do everything Photoshop can do. It just might not be as optimized or as streamlined, and it might be slightly more complicated than Photoshop will, but I mean, you're saving like $100 or something. So when you want to create a thumbnail, you're going to go click File, and you're going to click on New. And now for YouTube thumbnails, they don't have to be super high resolution images, so you don't need to make a 4K image or anything like that. And even you don't even need it to be 1080p full HD, because there's not really any point because it's so small. So you're going to type in 1280 by 720 for the width and the height, as you can see right here, and you were going, and GIMP has lots of different measuring things. I would just keep it in pixels for the purpose of making YouTube thumbnails, but you also want to make sure that it is set in landscape mode and not portrait mode, so that it's rotated like this. And once you click OK, you will be presented with your blank canvas to make your YouTube thumbnail. So you're going to want to go into your File Explorer and find all the pieces of the thumbnail that you want to add in, like I have right here in my folder from a thumbnail that I have already made, but I'm going to remake it for the purpose of this tutorial. So I have my backdrop right here, which that's my specific thumbnail style. I have a background image that's usually either a solid color or a textured, something like this, that I just pull off of Google. And then I have, for the purpose of this one, I have a screenshot from the video, which appears very large because the video is in 1080p, whereas this image is only in 720, so it's super zoomed in. So you're going to want to zoom out like that and use the scale tool, which I just selected, to scale the image down to fit the 1280 by 720 aspect ratio of the background. So once you do that, you're going to click the Move tool, and then you are going to drag the image back into the middle of the background, and like that. So now what do we want to do? Because it's just a picture of me with a background of a wall and trophy cases and all that stuff, and I'm just scaling it again just to get it less distorted, because it distorted a little bit there. So we're gonna go over and we're gonna click on the layer tab, and we're gonna click mask and add layer mask, and we're gonna want to make sure that is white, full opacity, and we're gonna click add, and we're going to go over here and click the paintbrush option, and we can go down here and change the size like so. For the purpose of what I'm about to do, 10 works well, 10, 20, 30, and 40 work well. So you're going to use the paintbrush to take out the background. So we can zoom in here to about 400% so we can see the edges of what we want to cut out, which in this case is the picture of myself. So we're going to go and we're going to trace along the edges of my head, my neck, and shoulders and all that, and we are going to cut myself out so that only my head and shoulders are showing. And we can do this by just holding down the left click on the mouse and dragging all the way down around my head. Alright, so once you have the edge of whatever it is you were trying to cut out drawn out, then like so, you can and keep in mind the edges don't have to be entirely perfect, because this is a YouTube thumbnail and it's going to appear very small on desktop, slightly bigger on mobile, but it's still going to be pretty small, so the edges don't have to be 100% perfect, flawless, the greatest thing, the greatest cutout job you've ever done or anybody's ever done or anything like that. Nah, it doesn't have to be like that. It just has to be pretty basic. You just have to not have the background in it, basically. So once we do that, we can raise up the brush size to about 10, not 120, 10 or 20. For this, I'm going to do 20 so I can cut out the rest of the background and get rid of that so only my head is showing. So once you have the entire background removed, it's important to trace along the outer edges of the image, along the borders, because bits and pieces of the background are still there, hiding in there, so you want to trace around there to get rid of all of it and make it absolutely perfect to where there is nothing left. It is just the background. So you might want to zoom in to see if you can find any other kind of imperfections. Like I know right there on my cheek and ear, I kind of messed up on the cutout a little bit, but like I said, it's a YouTube thumbnail, so it is not that important. So I'm not going to worry about that too much, and you shouldn't worry about just small things, like small little imperfections like that. Won't really make a difference to somebody that sees the thumbnail and makes them want to click on the video. So after that, you want to go back to the layer mask, and you want to uncheck edit layer mask in order to move the image around, because if you tried to move it around with the edit layer mask checked, it would just move my head inside the yellow border that you see right there, and I could not move it anywhere else, and it messes everything up, and it's not good. So just make sure whenever you want to move it around the screen that edit layer mask is unchecked, and then you should be good. So if we go over to the history tab right here, and if you accidentally cut out a part of the image that you wanted to leave in, the history tab lets you select different different places that you started the cutout, and basically whenever you click down and you cut out something and then you lift up your finger off of the mouse button, it creates a little section in the history tab that you can go back to if you mess something up. So I would recommend doing that quite a lot. So now we're going to save the image, and you can save it as whatever you want. I'm just going to save it as GIMP tutorial for the purpose of this video, and I usually save my stuff in a Seagate backup hard drive, but for this I think I'll just save it on the desktop. And again, you guys can save it wherever you want. You can name it whatever you want. However you organize your files is your business. I don't really care. So now that we have my head cut out, we are going to go over to the move tool, and we are going to drag it around the image, and we are going to position it exactly where we want it. So for me, I think that's going to be down here in the corner, except, hey, wait a minute. There's some imperfections down there in the image still. So we're going to go back to Edit Layer Mask, click on the paintbrush tool again. We're going to zoom back into 400%, and there are the imperfections right there. Let me just take those out real quick. And occasionally, once you start moving the image, you'll notice little pieces of the background that you just cut out that are left over. So whenever you notice that, just go back in and take those out, because it doesn't take very long and it'll make it look 10 times better in the long run. So now that we've got that out, we can uncheck the layer mask option and go back to the move tool to position the image exactly where we want it, which for me is going to be right here on the very edge, with the edge of my headshot image lined up with the edge of the background. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna scale it up just a little bit, and I don't know what the little squiggly black line is. Just ignore that, because it serves no purpose and it won't hurt anything in the long run. So we're gonna scale it up a little bit, and don't worry about when you scale it. When you click the scale tool, the background shows back up, but after you scale it, it disappears again, so you don't have to worry about that. So I think that looks pretty good. I might change it later depending on what else I add into this thumbnail looks like and how that looks like. So there we go. I think that looks pretty good. Of course, it looks pretty boring right now because it's literally just my headshot on a background. So we need to add some more stuff to this. So we're going to go back into my files, and as you can see, I have a little picture named Overclock right here, which is basically just a stock picture that I found on Google of an overclock meter for a CPU, because that is what this video is about. It was about overclocking your PC. So we're gonna drag that image back in, but as you can see, all you can see is the border. So that's because in the layers tab, the overclock image is underneath the image, the texture background image. So we're gonna just drag that up above it, and now you can see it. And you can also just, if you really wanted to, drag it above the headshot layer, but it's whatever. You can organize your layers in whatever way you want. I'm not here to judge you on that. I'm not here to teach you how to do that. It's just whatever workflow works best for you, and however what organization works best for your workflow is your business, not mine. So now we're going to repeat the same process of taking out this carbon fiber background around this little CPU speed gauge, and we are going to position the image exactly where we want it, and then we are going to add text after that. Alright, so now that we have the background cut out from this little image gauge, CPU speed, gauge, image, whatever it is. I don't really know how to describe it, but we're just going to go along the edges, check for imperfections, all that kind of stuff, repeat the exact same process as I said previously that we did for the headshot cutout. So now for this one, we're going to rotate it. So we're going to go over here and we're going to click on the rotate tool, and we are going to just click on the image like that, and then left click and move your mouse up or down or whatever, and it will rotate the image. So I think I want to put it in the top right corner here, because it does not have because there's edges on the top and bottom, so I think an angle on it up in the corner would look the best for this picture. So we're going to keep rotating it and keep adjusting it until we get it exactly right, until I get it exactly where I think it looks the best in terms of rotation and size and all that good stuff, because yes, size does matter. So we are going to, actually, I'm going to move the picture of myself, we're going to move that over a little bit to there, and to do that, all you got to do is just go over to the layers tab and click on whatever layer you want to move, and then you can drag it all over the screen to wherever you want to position it. So now I'm going to click on that same little CPU speed picture, and we're going to scale this up to be just a tad bit bigger though, not too big, because I don't want it taking up too much of the screen, because I still want to add text to this. So there, I think that looks pretty good from a distance, at least if we zoom out to 12.5 and go back to the background layer. I think that looks pretty good. Still kind of boring though, because we need to add some text to it so people actually can, know what your YouTube video is about, because that is the entire point of a thumbnail, is to people look at it. Most people look at the thumbnail of a video before they read the title, so it is important that your thumbnail advertises what your video is about and gives the viewer enough information that it gets them interested enough to read the title. So now we're going to add text by going over here, and we're going to click on the text icon right there, or the text tool, and then we're going to draw out a text box, and we're going to position this and try to get it lined up exactly right. And you can adjust the text box size and all that stuff at any time. In fact, it's probably easier if you do it after you type what you want to type, rather than trying to adjust the box before there's anything in it. So next we're going to go over here, and there is a ton of fonts that you can use. It has every single Windows default font on it. For the Mac and Linux versions, it will have all of the default fonts that come with that. But me personally, I use a custom font that's called Magical Mystery Tour. I personally think custom fonts are better to use than the default Windows fonts, just because it gives it a little bit more creativity and it says a little bit more about you, rather than, hey, I just use the default that everybody else uses. So now that we select Magical Mystery Tour Outline, we're going to go over here and we are going to change the color. So we're going to change it to white, because any other color like red or black or pretty much anything else won't show up really that well, at least not as good as white will, and Magical Mystery Tour Outline and white look very good. So, and as you can see, both color boxes down in the tool options and in the little edit box up there, they both changed to white as well. So now we're going to type in overclock, because as I said before, this video is about overclocking. So I'm going to type in overclock, and then the Magical Mystery Tour Outline, if you want to use this font, it defaults to all caps. So if you try to do lowercase letters with it, it will not work, so just keep that in mind. So now we're going to highlight it, and we are going to increase the text size by just holding down the size option like you do in Microsoft Word or Google Docs or anything like that. So we're going to make it, we're going to get it just right, just a snug fit in there, like exactly like that. That looks pretty good. and we're just going to mess with the text box a little more. That looks pretty good, but there's still all the blank space down below and like down in the bottom half over to the right. So we're going to add in another text box where we're going to type in the word your, because the entire video is about overclocking your PC. So it is, like I said before, it is important that your thumbnail advertises what your video is about, and text always helps. In my opinion, I have text in almost all of my thumbnails, and those are the videos that tend to do better than just having a static picture. So we're going to go through the same process. We're going to type it in, and we're going to try to adjust the text box to get it just right. And if you don't want to adjust the text box, though, you can go over to the tool options window, and you can go to the justify section, and you can center justify it again, just like you can do in Microsoft Word or Google Docs or any word processor. It works the exact same way. So now we have the word your in the center, and it's a lot easier to manipulate, and we can even make it a little bit bigger, and we can then adjust it a little better and get it exactly where we want it. And there we go. So click on the background layer just to see how they look without having selection boxes around them, and I think that looks pretty good. Now we're going to adjust the position of the different text boxes, and you can do that just by clicking the move tool and clicking on the text layer and then dragging it wherever in the image you want it to go. So we are going to readjust the two text boxes just to get them more in line with each other, and just to make them make it look a little more streamlined. It did. So now when we zoom out, you can see the word overclock, and you can see the word your along with my headshot and that little CPU speed meter, and of course it will look smaller than on YouTube. It'll look smaller than 12.5%. So now we're going to make another text box, and we are going to type in the word PC, because that's what the video is about. It's about PC. So we're going to, so we want the thumbnail to say overclock your PC. So when somebody looks at that, they'll be like, oh hey, I want to learn how to overclock my PC, or hey, this might be interesting to learn about or something, and then they'll read the title, and then they'll click on the video, and they'll watch a video, and hopefully they enjoy it, hopefully they leave a like, and hopefully they even subscribe. You never know. But it is all about the thumbnail. The thumbnail is one of the most important aspects of a YouTube video. So keep that in mind when you are trying to come up with, when you're trying to promote your video more, when you're trying to find ways to get your video noticed more. Always make sure that you have really good thumbnails, because the thumbnail can make or break whether or not a person watches your video. So, as you can see here, overclock your PC with my headshot and the CPU speed gauge, and that is the thumbnail. So I tend to leave the bottom right corner blank, mainly because that is where the time code is, and if I put anything over there, the time code on both desktop and mobile will cover up whatever is over there. So it's best if you just leave that blank, because you're not really losing anything, and nothing important is going to be covered up with the time code. And if you so desire, you can also add a watermark to your thumbnail, so everybody knows that, hey, I made this thumbnail, this is my own. And if anybody tries to steal it from Google Images or something, which, yes, I'm guilty of, I did used to steal thumbnails from Google Images, but all you have to do is just draw a tiny text box down in the bottom right hand corner, because again, it'll be covered up by the time code. And there, so that way when anybody tries to steal it from Google Images or something, it will have the watermark down there that, you know, it will advertise it as yours. And you can either type in your YouTube channel name or your Twitter or whatever. For me, my YouTube and my Twitter are the exact same. They're both Alanhm2000, so my watermark is just at Alanhm2000 in the same white Magical Mystery Tour outline font, except very tiny in the corner. And it's going to be covered up by it's mostly going to be covered up by the time code down in the corner on YouTube. but like I said, on Google, you'll be able to see the watermark there, and it will advertise that you made this thumbnail and the person that is using it in their YouTube video is a piece of shit. So once you have all of your edits in place, you have all your layers exactly where you want them, and you are completely finished editing your image, it is now time to export it. So you're going to go to File, Export As, and now GIMP defaults the files as PNGs, but I like to save everything as JPEGs. All you got to do is go up there and change it to type in .jpg and do all that, and you can name the file whatever you want, save it in whatever folder you want to, and just click export. And if you save it as a JPEG, it will come up with this menu right here with this quality slider. I highly recommend leaving the quality at 90, just because if you go to 100 or really any higher than 90, the file size will be too big to upload to YouTube, and it just won't end very well. And with 90, it doesn't lose enough detail to matter in the compression. So 90, highly recommended. So click export, save it wherever you want to, and now we can view our wonderful YouTube thumbnail, which is 100% perfect, the greatest thing you were ever going to create. And there it is with your watermark and everything ready to upload to YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, make sure to leave a like, make sure to comment down below if you guys want me to do any more SYT tutorials for GIMP, or even like Sony Vegas or something. I can do ones for GIMP for making YouTube banners or profile pictures, or making Twitch banners and profile pictures. Whatever you want, just leave a comment. If you guys need additional help, you can also ask your questions down in the comments. I will make sure to respond to as many as I can. If I don't, you can also send me a Twitter DM or an email at Alanhm2000business@gmail.com. I would be more likely to respond to the Twitter DM though, because I don't check my email very often, even though I keep telling myself I will. So if you have Twitter, send me a DM. If you don't, send me an email, and I will see it as soon as possible. So I think I am done here. Make sure you guys go check me out on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. All of my links will be down in the description. My name is Alanhm2000, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.